Alright folks, strap in because we're about to dive into the murky depths of Prime Video's The Rings of Power Season 2. If you thought the first season was a shaky start, you're in for a treat, or a trial, depending on your perspective. This season continues the trend of epic missteps where Middle-earth is not just on the brink of collapse but seems to be actively plummeting into a pit of dramatic mediocrity. Despite the show's lavish budget, rumored to be among the highest ever for a television series, the returns have been far from stellar. The astronomical investment in production costs, including high-end special effects, expansive sets, and an extensive cast, has not translated into the expected blockbuster success. The show's lackluster reception and diminishing viewer engagement mean that Amazon's ambitious gamble on revitalizing Tolkien's legacy has not paid off. So what's the deal this time? Sauron's back, casting his dark influence across the land. But here's the problem: the show treats his return like an overhyped plot twist that never quite lands. Instead of feeling like a looming threat, it comes off as a tired trope with no real bite. Galadriel, who's still grappling with the revelation that she almost fell for Sauron, who was disguised as a mortal, is stuck in an endless loop of existential angst and petty arguments with Elrond. Their bickering over the use of the three elvish rings feels less like high fantasy drama and more like a never-ending soap opera where the stakes are as high as a soap bubble. Meanwhile, the maybe Gandalf character is stumbling through the deadlands of Run with his half-foot companions, creating a subplot that's as aimless as it is dull. Watching this wandering wizard is like enduring a series of tedious detours on a road trip you never wanted to be on. Isildur's journey, played by Maxim Baldry, seems equally directionless, like he's on a quest to find purpose in the middle of a narrative void. Then there's the casting, which should have been the show's saving grace, but ends up being another disappointment. With actors like Ciarán Hinds, Rory Kinnear, and Jack Lowden on board, you'd expect powerhouse performances. Instead, they deliver their lines with all the conviction of someone reading from a grocery list. The dialogue, meant to be epic and foreboding, falls flat, making the show feel more like a poorly executed high school play than a grand fantasy epic. The visual style of the show is another letdown. Instead of capturing the grandeur of Tolkien's world, it leans heavily on a visual style that looks more like it was borrowed from Peter Jackson's The Hobbit and not the good parts. The character designs and special effects often resemble a cheap knockoff of a high-budget fantasy, making the whole production feel more like a low-rent fantasy knockoff than the immersive experience fans were promised. The fight scenes are over-choreographed to the point of being laughable. It's as if the director was trying to make every battle a dance number, complete with unnecessary spins and flourishes that only serve to make the action feel hollow. And let's not forget the excessive use of MacGuffins. The show is practically drowning in them, to the point where it's clear that the writers are more interested in using these plot devices to drive the story than in actually developing a coherent narrative. It's a scattershot approach to storytelling that feels more like a desperate attempt to keep viewers engaged with shiny distractions rather than meaningful plot developments. Emotional moments in the show are another casualty of its overblown ambition. Durin's heartfelt apology to his father gets swallowed up by the show's constant need to make every scene feel monumental and profound. Galadriel's insights into the corruptibility of man are buried under layers of cliché and melodrama, leaving viewers more bewildered than moved. In summary, The Rings of Power Season 2 is a grand spectacle that misses the mark in almost every way. It's a show that promises epic fantasy but delivers a bloated, overcomplicated mess. With lackluster performances, questionable visual choices, and a narrative that feels both chaotic and uninspired, it's a reminder that not every grand ambition translates into a successful execution. If you're looking for a truly immersive fantasy experience, you might want to look elsewhere, or at least lower your expectations before diving in.